Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. Kent County Levy Court Combined Meeting Notice Agenda, Kent County Administrative Complex, 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware, 19901, Tuesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. sharp. Levy Court Chambers, room 203. Mr. Pettimage, you've read into the record about the WebEx, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Angel. Good evening, everybody. As Commissioner mentioned, this meeting is being conducted at 555 Bay Road in Dover. We're also making it available to visitors via WebEx. Brief instructions for individuals who may be joining us via the WebEx platform. Throughout the meeting, there'll be opportunities for public comment, and at those times, if you are joining us on the internet, we will repeat these instructions, but we ask that you keep your devices on mute throughout the meeting, and at the appropriate time, if you wish to address Levy Court on a matter that is of interest to you, if you're using a mobile phone, you can press *3 on the mobile phone. That will raise an electronic hand, and we'll be able to see you and bring you into the room. If you're on a computer, the WebEx platform has a raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen that you can activate and deactivate, and it will also alert us of your interest to address Levy Court. Again, we'll repeat these instructions at the appropriate times throughout the meeting. As a business meeting of Levy Court, we're following the Levy Court adopted rules of procedure for business meetings, as well as the Mason's rules of executive order. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettimage. If we could have the invocation, please, by Commissioner Howell, the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Buxton, and a moment of silence in our troops, first responders, Mr. Sweeney. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we do recognize your presence tonight. We ask your blessing and direction in all of our proceedings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty, protecting and fighting for our freedoms. We also honor all first responders and medical staff who have succumbed to COVID-19 virus complications contracted through close interaction with infected patients, losing their lives caring for others. As of today, more than 1 million Americans nationwide, 2,942 here in Delaware and 652 just in Kent County have lost their lives to COVID. Please remember all these individuals who have died in the line of duty, as well as keeping their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Deputy Sheriff Walter Donald Jenkins from the Rockdale County Sheriff's Department in Georgia. Deputy Sheriff Robert Adam Howard from the Harris County Sheriff's Department in Texas. Chief Deputy Sheriff Jody Wayne Cash from the Callaway County Sheriff's Office in Kentucky, Border Patrol Agent Daniel Salazar from the U.S. Customs and Border Control or Border Protection in California, firefighter Harold Joe Cordova from Manassas Fire Department, Colorado, firefighter Darren Banks from the Firestorm Wildland Fire Suppression in Chico, California, volunteer firefighter Jason Smith from the Balco Fire Department, Oklahoma, firefighter Sean McAdam from the Louisville Fire Department in Kentucky, and volunteer firefighter Ryan Leaf Erickson from the Blomkest Fire Department in Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knock, can you call roll, please?
Mr. Buxton?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mrs. Maston?
Present.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Pepper? Absent. Mr. Angel?
Present.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Let the record show 6-1 absent. Need a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt agenda as stated.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Joanne Maston made the motion. Mr. Hall made the second. All in favor? Ms. Tanaka, call roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. We have Resolution 3939 read in the record, and we need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who is that? Commissioner Howell?
We're going to read it into the record first.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, a little rusty here. Go ahead, Ms. Tanaka. Thank you.
Resolution 3939, retirement of Crystal L. Yerkes. Whereas the retirement of Crystal L. Yerkes, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as Deed Clerk 2, Recorder of Deeds Office, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Crystal L. Yerkes as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Crystal L. Yerkes for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the May 24, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Second, Commissioner Howell's motion.
Motion by Commissioner Howell, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Ms. Tanaka, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor, 1 absent. Resolution 3940, retirement of Patrick Quillen. Read the record, please.
Whereas the retirement of Patrick S. Quillen, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from his duties as wastewater facilities plant operator 2, Department of Public Works, Wastewater Facilities Division, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Patrick S. Quillen as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Patrick S. Quillen for the able and loyal manner in which he performed his public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be his evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the May 24th, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Motion, please.
Move to approve Resolution 3940.
Second.
Commissioner Sweeney makes the motion. Commissioner Masson seconds. Please read the record. In the record, Ms. Tanaka.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor, 1 absent. Resolution 3941, retirement of Bruce C. Slody. Read in record, please.
Whereas the retirement of Bruce C. Slody, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from his duties as Building Codes Inspector 2, Department of Public Works, Inspection and Enforcement Division, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Bruce C. Slody as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Bruce C. Slody for the able and loyal manner in which he performed his public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be his evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the May 24, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Move to approve Resolution 3941, Mr. Vice President.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sweeney, seconded by Commissioner Maston. Beat me to the punch. Thank you. Ms. Tanaka, reading the record, or the vote, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Okay, Employee of the Month for June 2022, Mr. Coella. You want to read in the record? Go, please.
Kent County Department heads have selected Jason W. Gary from the Department of Public Works as the June 2022 Employee of the Month. Jason has been a Kent County employee since February 2012 and holds the position of Maintenance Mechanic 3 in the Division of Wastewater Facilities. He is responsible for maintaining, installing, and making repairs to operating pumps, valves, force main, gravity sewer main, laterals, and any other integral components in wastewater collection and transmission operations for his assigned area of the county. Jason has worked his way up through the ranks to his current team leader position due to his outstanding work ethic and superior supervisory skills. In his role as work group leader, he can be counted on to get any job done, no matter how difficult. Interestingly, Jason spent a few years working in the biosolids section and earned his wastewater operator 2 license before making the transition back to maintenance. According to the Director of Public Works, Diana Gold, Jason is an exemplary employee who performs his job duties with a great attitude, bringing the best out in others he is working with. He never shies away from difficult projects. He accepts challenges and works hard to find solutions to any problem. He is a great asset for Kent County Public Works. Congratulations on a job well done, Jason, and he resides in Commissioners Howell's and Pepper's districts. The tribute reads, Kent County Levy Court, June 2022, Employee of the Month, Jason W. Gary, on this, the 24th day of May 2022. The Levy Court of Kent County, State of Delaware, does hereby recognize Jason W. Gary, Maintenance Mechanic 3, Department of Public Works, Wastewater Facilities Division, for his exceptional initiative, dedication, and conscientiousness in the delivery of services to the citizenry of the county.
Thank you. Mr. Beddermouse, we need a vote for this in the record for employee?
No, we generally invite the guests down at this time and greet them.
Jason, I believe you're here. If you can come on down, and the commissioners and Mr. Beddermouse meet him out front, please. Thank you.
That's right.
Well, Jason, you're like a heart surgeon for the sewer system, because everything that you do has to do with pumps and circulation and taking care of everything, and the laterals and other integral components. boy, that is one heck of a job to keep things moving and so we don't have any issues. So on behalf of Levy Court and what you do, congratulations, and I'll pass the mic to see what the other commissioners have to say.
Jason, congratulations. That one word that described you as having initiative, I think that's great. That's what every person should have. Never stand back and wait for things to happen to them. You take the step forward, and I appreciate that. Congratulations on this.
Congratulations on a job well done, and hopefully you continue that in the future.
Yes, remind me of a good official, right? The only time they notice you is when things go wrong, right? So keep up the great work, and hopefully that doesn't happen because, boy, we'll notice.
Good workers, good people are in demand everywhere. Fortunately, we got one here in you. Glad for you.
Congratulations, and keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Jason, you and your colleagues at the plant have a difficult job. We all recognize that. You guys do it day in and day out, and you're a standout. You've been recognized by your peers, and that says a lot about who you are and the type of work ethic you bring to the job. So congratulations. Appreciate it.
Jason, a few words, please.
Thank you all.
Okay, if you can come up this way, please, and we'll get a picture here with your. Okay, Mr. Quayla, introductions, please.
Good evening, Vice President Angel and Commissioners. We do have 4 employees here tonight to be introduced. The Finance Director was not able to be here, so she's given me the honor of introducing her 2 new employees. I'll be followed by the Director of Planning Services, Sarah Kiefer, and she'll be followed by Director of Public Safety, Colin Faulkner. So I'm going to ask Francis and Lisa to come up. So since Finance Director Susan Durham could not be here tonight, it's my honor to introduce first Frances Dotson. She started her position as an Assessor 1 in the Assessment Office on May the 9th. Most recently, she worked as a dental assistant and part of that as in Walker Square in dentistry as well. And she resides in Commissioner Buxton's and Pepper's district. Frances, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, everybody. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity. I absolutely love it here. As he said, I came from dental. I know Al. And did that for 30 years and just wanted to do something different, and I absolutely love it. It's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Buxton, any comments?
She's gone, but you don't have to apologize, and just welcome aboard and glad you're here, and keep that exuberance that you're bringing to the table. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Francis.
You too.
The second new employee in the Finance Department is Lisa Spence Russ. She started her position as an Accountant 1 in the accounting section on May the 10th, the day after Francis. Most recently, she worked as a Management Analyst 3 at Acro Services Corp., which works for Delaware Department of Health and Social Services. Prior to that, she was an accountant at the Delaware Division of Public Health, the Office of Financial Services. She resides in Commissioner Buxton's and Pepper's districts. Lisa?
Good evening. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to working for the county. Thank you.
Commissioner Buxton?
I thought there was a hiring freeze in my district. I'm glad to see that's not true. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Michael Edwards. Michael joined us as a building inspector on May 9th. Prior to joining us, he worked as a maintenance planner for Edgewell Personal Care, and prior to that, he was an HVAC technician. We are very pleased to have him on board. He's hit the ground running. Michael resides in Commissioner Sweeney's and Pepper's districts.
Hello. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving Kent County and the community. So, thank you very much.
Mr. Sweeney.
All I can say is welcome aboard. You've got an important job. And with all the growth going on, they're going to keep you busy. So that's a good thing.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm pleased to introduce Nicholas Senni, who started his position as a Dispatcher 1 in our Emergency Comms Division on May 9th, 2022. Most recently, he worked as a fire dispatcher for the Dover Fire Department. Prior to that, he was a loader for Walmart Distribution Center. Nicholas resides in Commissioner Buxton's and President Pepper's district. Thank you.
Good evening. Just like to say thank you for the opportunity to work for Kent County. I look forward to making a difference in serving the citizens of Kent County and all around the area. So thank you.
Welcome aboard, Nicholas. Commissioner Buxton.
Starters, on a serious note, congratulations, and we're glad you're here, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
But 3? Wow.
Stacking the boat here, aren't you?
Me out. Thank you. Good luck.
Okay. Ms. Kiefer.
Thank you, Commissioners. Before we begin the public hearings, just a word about how these hearings will be conducted tonight. This public hearing is conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony in the applications before the Levy Court. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. For each application before the Levy Court, the President will introduce the application. Then the Levy Court will take testimony from all of those in favor. Testimony will then be received from those who may be opposed. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the hearing on the application will be closed, and the Levy Court will take what action it deems appropriate. Levy Court's decision will be based upon public hearing testimony given at this meeting and a recommendation submitted to the Levy Court by the Regional Planning Commission. I would ask that that recommendation be included by reference in the permanent record of this meeting established by the Clerk of the Peace. The public notice of this hearing was published in the May 6th, 2022 edition of the Delaware State News. The first item before Levy Court tonight is Resolution 3938. This is the creation of a stormwater maintenance district for Brentford Station 2. A majority of the lot owners in the subdivision have signed the petition to join the district. Those signatures have been verified by our staff. The annual fee adopted is $28 per parcel. Billing would commence within the subdivision in the August 2022 tax billing. So this meets the criteria for joining the stormwater district. Staff would recommend its approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff or Ms. Kiefer? Seeing none. Open the Stormwater Maintenance District Resolution 3938 for those in favor. Those in favor, please come forth.
We have any guests join? Oh, we have someone in person.
Senior, I'm the president of Brentford Station 2. I have been for the past 5 years.
Mike, please, so we can hear you.
Hello. Good. My name is Michael Reed, Senior. I'm president of Brentford Station 2. I have been for the past 5 years.
Sir, excuse me. Can you state your address, and then I'm going to swear you?
12 Tally Drive, Smyrna, Delaware.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All of that, yes.
Thank you.
Michael, what did you say your last name was?
Reed, R-E-E-D.
R-E.
I just wanted to let you know that, this has been a long process we've worked towards for the past 2 years to get the stormwater maintenance. We appreciate Kent County coming out a couple of years and explaining it to all of our residents of what it stands for, what it does, and how it will help our community. So we're happy to be able to complete this part of the process. So thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Anyone else in favor, please come to the podium, give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
Hello, Burnell Wilkins, 60 Tally Drive, Brentford Station 2.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And
Once
sir,
again,
what is your last name?
Wilkins, Burnell Wilkins, 60 Tally Drive. Yes, I'm part of the HOA board, and like for the last couple of years, we've been trying to get this done, and we're just thankful and grateful that we're able to get this done through Kent County. We appreciate it. You know it's going to be a great benefit if approved. We just thank you for your time. Thank you.
Anybody online, Mark, for in favor?
I see no hands raised online for those wishing to speak in favor at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. One last call for anybody to come to the podium in favor. Anybody opposed to Resolution 3938? Any opposition? Anybody online, Mark, for opposition?
Again, I see no takers online at this time.
You want to close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing on 3938 and ask Ms. Masson to move forth, please.
Finding that the proposed stormwater maintenance district expansion is adequate and appropriate, that all property owners within the district are benefited directly or indirectly hereby, and that it is in the public interest to extend the stormwater maintenance district in the manner proposed, I move to approve Resolution 3938, creating the Brentford Station 2 Stormwater Maintenance District.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Masson, seconded by Commissioner Buxton. Mr. Docker, please call the roll.
Mr. Buxton?
In the name of Mr. Ben Kuntz, I vote yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals, I'm sorry.
Let the record show 6 in favor and 1 absent. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kiefer, SC 2202, Calpine Solar Energy.
Thank you. The next application, CS 2202, is a conditional use site plan application for public utility solar. The site is zoned both AR, agricultural residential, and AC, agricultural conservation. The entire site is just under 250 acres, but the area of concern is just under 95. The site is at the intersection of White Oak Road and Bayside Drive, just northeast of the city of Dover, outside the growth zone. The Planning Commission took testimony on this application at their April 7th hearing, and at their May 12th business meeting voted to recommend conditional approval. And the conditions include several of those that were included in the most recent text amendment, including completion of soil studies, as well as a decommissioning plan. It should be noted that this application does predate both the moratorium that's in effect and the recently adopted solar regulations. So again, this does come with a recommendation for conditional approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Commissioner Sweeney.
Ms. Kiefer, what did you say the acreage was?
Total site is just under 250, but the area of the array is just under 95.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. Kiefer? Open the public hearing. Mr. Dunkel.
Commissioner and Chairman Angel, for the record, my name is Mark Dunkel. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Parkowski, Girk, and Swayze, offices in Wilmington, Dover, and Rehoboth Beach. And I'm pleased to be here tonight to represent the applicant Calpine in this conditional use site plan application. And this is a conditional use site plan application. I don't need to remind Levy Court of that, but just for the benefit of the public, it's not a rezoning and it's not a solar ordinance amendment. It's a site plan application. It's a conditional use site plan application. As Director Kiefer said, the property's in two zoning districts, AC and AR. There are 79 conditional uses that aren't farming in the AC zone. And they're here on page 1. If you could go to the next page, please. And then one more page. I'll have highlighted in green, this is our landowner's request, a conditional use out of the 79 in the AC. And I say we because I'm on this team. So we bought this property in 2013, have title to it and deed to it. And we'd like to use the sun to make electricity and not grow crops. In the AR zone, there are 67 conditional uses that aren't farming. Could you go to the next page, please? And you don't have to go any further. And our use, public utility uses is in this list too.
Excuse me, Mr. Dunkel?
Yes, Mr. Bucks.
Is this property outside the growth zone?
It is. That's right.
Does that impact the list that you're showing?
The conditional use does have some impact on the location east of 1, as long as it's though evenly distributed, in the zone, then it's certainly permitted. Now, as I've submitted in correspondence to Levy Court, which I assume is part of the record, or will ask to be made part of the record on May 19th, the Calpine Solar Array is a public utility. There was some question at the RPC about this question, and so we wanted to answer that question. It sends electricity, electrons, if you will, into the public power grid, and that's regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, and is defined as a public utility. So Mr. Ryman will be up here in a few minutes to present the application to you, but we meet the definition of this conditional use, public utility, that's permitted under the code. As the director mentioned, this application is sort of the last of its kind. It is expressly grandfathered under the new, what I call the new solar ordinance that Levy Court recently adopted, because the date that this application was submitted and accepted by staff and started through the process, expressly exempt from the new ordinance. The new ordinance would not allow public utility solar in the AC district outside the growth zone. But as I said, this is sort of the last of its kind when the law has been changed, but it does permit this use still because of the timing of our application in both zones. As I said before, the applicant bought this land in 2013. The applicant built the electric power plant in the city's Garrison Technical Park, which is immediately adjacent to this property. They built that natural gas fired electric turbine. and they have power lines through this property, and always planned, their investment-backed expectation was to use it for energy production in the future. And that's what they'd like to do with their property in this application before you. As I'm sure a lot of the folks in the room like to use their property for whatever legal use they have, Calpine would like to use their property for a currently legal use here in the county, agreeing with all of the staff requirements and all of the conditions suggested by staff in their professional opinion, and the recommendation from the Regional Planning Commission. At this time, I'd really like to ask Mr. Ryman to come up and present the application to you. I have a couple more comments to make when he's finished, and then Mr. Chris Raju from Calpine will also be up sworn to speak right after that. And obviously, we're here to answer questions at that point, if that's okay with the commission. So I'd like to ask Mr. Ryman to step up. So the lawyer can stop talking and the engineer can start talking.
Mr. Ryman, your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
Mike Ryman, Becker Morgan Group, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware.
Mr. Ryman, you swear or affirm, sir, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Commissioners, good to be here. Good to see you all this evening. I'm going to be pretty brief. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about solar over the last 5-6 months, so I'm not going to attempt to regurgitate a lot of those discussions. That being said, our presentation will be focused on this application and that this project is in compliance with the county code and the spirit of the recently adopted ordinance. And Mark had already mentioned that this project precedes the ordinance that was adopted. Next, almost told you next slide. Mark showed me how to do that. Oh, you can do it anyway. All right, you got it. Perfect. They didn't really trust me with the pointer. So the project area you can see there is highlighted in the green with the star on it. We have Route 9 there. You can see Route 1 to kind of the left. You got the city of Dover, Dover Downs on the left side. The red line is the limits of the city of Dover jurisdiction. You can see the Garrison Oak Technical Park located just to the west there. As Ms. Kiefer had said, the project sits just under 250 acres, about 247, with about 48 acres of the total parcel residing in the AC zoning district and about 199 acres residing in the AR zoning district. Next slide. Calpine. Calpine's been in Delaware since 2010. They're a Delaware company. They employ about 72 people in Delaware. They've been Delaware's largest energy producer since 2010. As Mr. Dunkel stated, Calpine acquired this property in 2013, well in advance of a lot of the discussions that we've had here, with the full intent of developing this property as a solar facility, which was permitted or is permitted per the code. It is also worth noting that this is a public utility under 16 U.S. Code Section 824. Next slide. This is just a close-up of the property. You can still see Route 9 kind of to the top of the page there, and you can kind of see the gas Garrison Technical Park with the gas plant, fired power plant there on the bottom. This is a 25 megawatt system. As stated, is split zoned with the AC portion predominantly towards the Route 9 side. About 94 acres of panels on the total 247 acres. This project does maintain all the woods that are there. You can see a significant, maybe I'll try the pointer, there we go. Significant portion of the property is in woods, and this property does maintain that. This project meets or exceeds all of the buffering and setbacks as outlined in the new ordinance, although not required to. This project volunteers to do that. This includes landscape buffering, buffering from the stream that crosses the ditch there. There are wetland buffering here, buffering from adjacent properties, etc. In summary, those buffers are 100 feet on the front, at least 75 feet on the side, 100 feet from any dwelling, 100 feet from any wetlands. We do have 2 access points, mainly because the ditch that bisects the property here. So we have an access point located on each side to eliminate having to cross the ditch. Next slide. The conditional use standards clearly outlined in your code. There are 4 criteria that are required to be met, and those include the location is appropriate and not in conflict with the comprehensive plan, that public health safety will not be adversely impacted, that adequate off-street parking exists, and that necessary safeguards to protect surrounding property and persons has been included. And we're going to demonstrate that we meet all 4 of those standards tonight. Next slide. As it relates to the appropriate location and character, again, you can see the site location there with the star. It is adjacent to a business and industrial campus within the city of Dover, Garrison Park. There's existing gas-fired power plant. There's some manufacturing in there. And in addition to that, there is a concrete and quarry material facility across the street from this facility. We do believe that this project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, given the uses are permitted within these zoning districts. Next slide. As a result, we do believe the location is appropriate and not in conflict, that public health and safety is not adversely impacted. Solar farms produce a minimum amount of disturbance to develop. They provide renewable energy. We are including the soil testing and agreeable to the condition that's outlined in the staff report in that regard. There's no impervious proposed within the development. There's no traffic generated. There's no noise. There's no stormwater runoff. So we believe that we comply with that condition. As it relates to adequate off-street parking, this is a facility that doesn't generate traffic. There might be a couple of trips per month for maintenance, so we don't have a parking issue. And that necessary safeguards have been included to protect surrounding properties and persons. Again, there is significant buffering provided. Again, this predates the current ordinance. It's not required to provide those things, but this plan meets all of those requirements outlined in the new ordinance. And the testing, decommissioning, and bonding will be included as outlined in the new ordinance as well. Next slide. This just kind of speaks to that and just kind of reiterates those points. These are the various setbacks that are outlined in the new zoning ordinance, landscaping, soils testing, the decommissioning plan, the bonding requirements, all of those things that everybody works so hard to define in that ordinance are included as part of this application. Many of these have been outlined as suggested conditions by the staff in the staff report, and we are agreeable to all of those. Next slide. Landscaping, the landscape requirement essentially requires 1 tree per 3,000 square feet. That results in 1,365 total trees that are required to be built. Because part of this property has some existing woodlands along its perimeter, those trees are relocated essentially or located to the buffers around the property, and that results in a tree buffer that's about 4 rows of trees by meeting that code. Next slide. There are a couple of airports nearby, the Shandell Airport and then of course the Dover Air Force Base in that direction. We are agreeable to the requirements in the code, in the staff report, that we would have to coordinate with the FAA and DELDOT by filing a notification with them and obtaining their response before final approval is granted. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Dunkel.
Thank you. And just to follow up with Mr. Ryman and what I said in the beginning, this is sort of the last of its kind application before Levy Court. But we did want to mention that it's really smaller and less intense than a fairly recent solar farm that was approved under the same code by Levy Court, the old code. These, just by comparison, the Calpine property entire acreage is 246 acres. The Cedar Creek is over 500 acres. The panel area for this Calpine application is 94 acres. The Cedar Creek panel area is 277 acres. We have, as you've heard and you know, a split zone. The Cedar Creek is 100% in the AC, and we're split between the AC and the AR. And finally, the size, the number of panels themselves is about a fourth. We plan approximately 55,782 panels, and the previously approved solar farm is 225,000 panels. So we know that we got in under the wire. We did participate in the drafting of the ordinance which you recently adopted, which expressly made that bright line on applications under the old code and the new. And as Mr. Ryman mentioned, we've tried to meet the technical requirements of the new code that Levy Court put in place as far as buffers. I would like to go to the next slide, please. This is just a summary of what we've presented, and reiterate what Mr. Ryman has already presented, that we do believe we're in compliance with Chapter 205, that this is a use of land that this landowner would like to pursue, which is illegal in the county. It's different than farming, but it's something that this owner would like to pursue. It does create power and send it to the grid, therefore it's a public utility under federal law, and that the property owner has been sitting on the property and planning its use since around 2013. I would like to bring and have sworn Mr. Krish Raju with Calpine, and have him do a little bit of testimony, and it's Krish Raju, and you may want to spell your name, Krish.
Krish Raju, R-A-J-U, last name, R-A-J-U.
Address, sir. What's your address?
Address. Oh, 6, we have our, my residence is 210 Green Valley Road, Exton, Pennsylvania.
Do you swear or affirm tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And
Can you speak into the mic, please? I can't hear you.
I do.
And Mr. Raju, if you get to the mic, you listened to all of the comments and the facts that I presented to Levy Court tonight?
Yes.
Right. And do you agree with those comments?
Yes, I do.
And do you adopt those comments as your testimony tonight?
Yes, I do.
For the record?
Yes, I do.
All right. And are you asking Levy Court to approve this conditional use application for the Calpine facility?
Yes.
All right. We're here for questions. That really concludes our, sorry, Mr. Angel, this concludes our presentation, but we're here. We have some other members from the Calpine team if there are any more questions, but we are again asking for your approval of this conditional use site plan under the old code.
Any questions for the gentleman up? Seeing none? Thank you. Anybody else in favor? Anybody else in favor? Please step to the podium.
If you have any guests online, *3 on your mobile phone will bring you into the room. Raise an electronic hand, or you can activate the raise hand icon on your computer.
I see no hands raised online at this time.
Okay. Anybody in opposition? Please come forward, give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed.
My name is John Nichols. I live at 970 Winnow Drive, Clayton, Delaware.
Mr. Nichols, do you swear or affirm, sir, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you.
I'm opposed to this application. The county undoubtedly is aware that they're in litigation right now over Cedar Creek Solar. I'm going to read this into the public record because I want members of the public to hear it. I assume the commissioners have read it. Page 16, the conditional use application referenced Cedar Creek Solar was erroneously processed and supposedly approved under the guise of constituting public utility. Such a use is permitted as conditional use under zoning section 205-48, subject to conditional use provisions of zoning article 21. Again, this is from the complaint. The definition of the term public utility contained in zoning code section 205-6, however, does not apply to FFP Cedar, nor would it apply to the Calpine project, in my opinion. It is not an organization supplying electricity to the public operated by operated by a private corporation under government regulation. Calpine, like FPC Solar, does not supply electricity directly to the public, as it would be if it were Delmarva Power or Delaware Electric Co-op, or supply any electricity to the public under government regulation. FPS Cedar nor Calpine are regulated by the Delaware Public Service Commission or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Even assuming an argument that the county administrator had the discretion under zoning code section 205-4, and they go on, to determine if the conditional use application proposed a use not listed in any zoning district, the guide that must be utilized is a standard industrial classification manual. Major use division in which the use in which the SICM must be relied upon to determine which zoning code as identified would be most akin to the use of the property. It goes on to explain that under that section, a public utility is only permitted by right in the IG general industrial section. Therefore, a conditional use application was improvidently granted since it determined that it constituted a public utility, and such use would only be permitted in the IG zoning district, not in the AC or the AR. So that's from the complaint. So I'm surprised that this is even here tonight. You're already in the county, and on my behalf, as a citizen of the county, is already in litigation with Calpine. I would not be surprised if this is not tabled, but rather approved. The county would find themselves in litigation again, adding to my expense as a Kent Countyan. Now that will be decided in court, in Chancery Court in September. Who knows how that'll play out? I think the farm that's directly adjacent to the proposed Cedar Creek site has a good chance of winning. Similar landowners adjacent to the Calpine site could make claim under the same basis or another basis with a different attorney. Let's talk about the welfare this Kent County Levy Court is supposed to protect. PJM, which operates the grid in this region, is flooded with requests for interconnection. They have over 1,200 in the queue right now. They put them all on pause. Most of them are solar. Now, it's possible, I don't know the status of Calpine's application, that they're already in the queue, but maybe they aren't. So why are they pausing all of these solar projects? They're pausing them because solar is intermittent electricity. Again, this speaks to the public welfare. It doesn't add much to capacity. It has to be tended, all of it, 100%, with reliable generation, dispatchable, reliable generation, generally nuclear, natural gas, generally natural gas, but also nuclear and also coal. Now let me talk to you about coal in Delaware. The last remaining coal-fired plant is in Millsboro. Why should the county be concerned about this? PJM won't let it close, yet they only ran for 60 hours last year. They won't let them close because to close it would threaten the reliability of the grid. In order to stay operational, however, NRG wants and will get $100 million from the customers of Delmarva Power, the co-op, and DMEC. $100 million. I've been told that the DMEC customers, it'll add to the average residential ratepayer $5 a month to their electricity costs. That's on top of the roughly, let's say $65 million of additional subsidies that are already built into the cost for providing so-called renewable energy at a time when people can least afford it. Now those on the other side of the issue who say renewable is going to save the world talk about the subsidies inherent in fossil fuels, nuclear. The Texas Public Policy Institute has studied the subsidies per megawatt hour of generation. Natural gas and oil, 39 cents per megawatt hour. Coal, 73 cents. Every generation source gets subsidies. Wind, $18.86, and solar, $82.46. It's not sun that generates the electricity from solar, it's subsidies, and we all pay them. I've explained before, and I'll conclude my comments here, it's a waste of space. You're charged, Kent County Levy Court is charged with maintaining making wise land use policies. And again, if we look at the solar array on White Oak Road, this one may be more efficient, but the White Oak Road site is 10 megawatts on about 105 acres. 10 megawatts, available 20% of the time. Directly adjacent to that, you have I think it's 325 megawatt combined cycle natural gas plant that was available for dispatch about 80% of the time on 145 acres. 325 megawatts on 145 acres. Think about that. What about the coal plant that wants to close down? NRG wants to shut it down. All right? That plant generates 400 megawatts. It used to be base load generation. It's not getting dispatched. Why? Much has to do with wind, part of it due to lower natural gas prices. But wind can bid into the grid at night at zero, at nothing. So you can't compete with zero if you have fuel costs and other operational expenses. But the only reason it can bid into the grid at zero is because of the heavy subsidies that I outlined earlier. All that notwithstanding, you're in litigation already. I can't believe that the Regional Planning Commission referred this application to the board, but they did. So for all the aforementioned reasons, I hope that you at least table it until litigation is concluded, or you may find yourself in litigation again. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I would like to say one other thing. I'm not the fellow in the neighborhood who says no to anything that's nice. I'm the fellow in the neighborhood who picks up the garbage, who helps their neighbors out when they can't get out of their driveway, who cuts their grass when they're too old to cut it for themselves. I'm here tonight with no vested interest in this other than the desire to have affordable and reliable electricity for myself and my family. That's it. Nobody's paying me. All the suits in this room are on someone else's dime. I'm on my own. So don't think for a minute that I'm not altruistic. I am. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions? Commissioner Sweeney.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nichols, do you know why PJM is pausing?
Pardon me, sir?
Do you know why PJM is pausing the approval of 2,500 applications?
Without the 60 hours that it was dispatched in the last year, it would threaten the integrity of the grid. It literally would. Now, the thinking is that offshore wind, if it ever becomes available, would make up for the loss of capacity that is represented by the coal-fired plant, but that is years and years and years away. If it ever comes to fruition, they want to run the power line through Indian River Inlet. Recreational fishing interests are going to have a field day with that.
PJM has 1,200 solar farms in the process. That has nothing to do with running a transmission line through Indian River Inlet or... Their problem is the processing of 2,500 applications, that they're changing how they do things to make those projects get approved quicker.
That's not accurate.
According to the Courier Journal, that is accurate. I just read the article.
According to PV Magazine, it's inaccurate. This is PV Magazine. I submitted as part of the record. Part of the problem is the inability to balance the intermittency. And the expectation is Ørsted would come ashore to Indian River, right through Indian River Inlet. That's not going to happen. No one wants that transmission line coming ashore in Delaware. I've followed this from the earliest days when Blue Water Wind was proposed and they wanted to come ashore at Bethany Beach. The Bethany Beach community stood up and said, we don't want that high voltage transmission line coming ashore here. Then Ørsted tried to bring it through at Holt's Landing. Now they're talking about bringing it through Indian River. Nobody wants it in their backyard.
In any case, it has nothing to do with the safety or welfare that's presented from a solar farm.
Well, we can talk about the welfare. I've talked to this entity before about PFAS and the contamination.
You're wrong there too, so move on to something else.
Well, I'm not wrong. You want to go to Eastern University's website, they have a PFA lab.
I can go on the internet and I did a search just like everybody else who's going to oppose
Mr.
this
Sweeney,
tonight.
with all due respect, this is not an internet. This is a college, a university who studies PFAS and groundwater contamination.
And for every one you find that says there are PFAs in solar panels, I'll find you 10 that say it's not commonly used anymore.
I have 36 references from the EPA that says PFAs are on and or in solar panels. That's the EPA. That's not some internet blogger. This is the EPA. I urge you to go to Eastern University's website and click on their links. There are the EPA references. It's not John talking. I'm just an advocate. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an accountant. I'm somebody who follows the issues closely. All right? I wouldn't quote a blogger any more than I would say that it's not due, that the intermittency issue isn't a problem with respect to the solar. It is. There's a former president of Columbia National Gas. I can quote him. He will tell you that you need 100% of your anticipated capacity plus another 20% for reserve to handle extreme weather events and outages. And all of that, 120% of that, all of it has to be backed up with reliable generation. That's not from me. That's the former president of Columbia Natural Gas, whose name escapes me at the moment. But I did swear to tell the truth. So it's not John. I have an opinion, but I base it on facts.
Any other questions for Mr. Nichols?
I urge you not to approve this application. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Nichols.
Madam.
Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
I'm Kevin Goldsboro. I reside at 668 Lighthouse Road, Smyrna, Delaware, 10977.
Mr. Goldsboro, do you swear or affirm, sir, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm sure it doesn't surprise some of you that I would be opposed to this application. I hardly know with what point to start at here, but almost a question is what's the purpose of ag district zoning if you don't do agriculture on it? So this project is out of character of the area, very pristine farm area. So I heard the one representative for the company saying that that the wetlands area is not affected. As far as myself as a waterfowl hunter, I would say the entire area is wetlands area. The wildlife that roost out the Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge feed on all these farm fields, all along Route 9 there, where there's spoils left by farmers. In the course of my travels, getting the message out about the loss of farmland in the county, I came across a lady she has 2 feet of her basement she says the county considers as being in wetlands area, where she has to pay a penalty of $125 a month. So that's 2 feet. This entire area is wetlands area. So the standard only applies to to small time. It's residential people don't have any money. It doesn't apply to the big corporations, evidently. So whether or not this is a public utility, I think that's yet to be determined in court. So at the very least, I would advise tabling this pending the outcome of the pending lawsuit. The argument about it being impervious, well, if you can't run a farmer's tractor through with a disc, can't not plant crops, whatever's there that's doing that, that's an impervious object. So it's nearly non-conditional when farmers must comply with much stricter conditions. Sir, do you have the PowerPoint? It was the same as last meeting. It'd have, I believe so. So it's pretty much goes to one of the last slides, sir. Right there, yes. So I won't read this entire thing, but this is one thing outside of just the regular agricultural zonings that should prevent this sort of application in this area. It is the purpose of the Quality of Life Act to utilize and strengthen the existing role, processes, and powers of county governments in the establishment and implementation of comprehensive planning programs to guide and control future developments. It is the intent of this subchapter to encourage the most appropriate use of land, which I argue not. It's not. It's just prime farmland. Let it continue as farmland. Water and resources, it's not the best use of resources. Consistent with public interest. And so this is the petition that I'm passing for what's this farmland being used in this way. I have no problem getting signatures for this petition. So it is not in the public interest. I've come across very few people who will not sign this petition. And to deal effectively with the future problems that may result in the use of the development of land within the jurisdictions. I was here one night with the Regional Planning and Zoning Commission, and the one commissioner asked who's responsible if the company goes bankrupt and these arrays are left behind. The answer is that the intent is for the county. So there's no obligation for the county to clean this up if the company goes bankrupt. So it's very possible the problems could arise. So through the process of comprehensive planning, it is the intent that the units of county government can preserve, promote, and improve public health, safety, comfort, good order. Does not do that. Appearance, certainly not appearance. It's beautiful, the appearance that is there now. Convenience, it's not convenient. General welfare, conserve, it's not conserving farmland. Develop, utilize, and protect natural resources. It's not doing that. It's much more in a natural setting now than when it has 55,000 solar panels on it. And so this is within the county's jurisdiction. The Quality of Life Act that's a directive from the state towards the 3 counties of what proper land use is, and I believe it applies in this instance. So any questions of me?
Any questions for Mr. Goldsberg? Seeing none? Thank you, Kev.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else in opposition, please come down, give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
Hi, Tricia Hurd Nash, 3652 Big Woods Road, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm going to start off by saying 2 wrongs don't make a right. I'm pretty sure we've all heard that before. I think that we were all blindsided when the Cedar Creek application came in. We didn't know any better, so we couldn't do any better. I think now we know better. I think that Calpine knows better. Another point that I'd like to bring up is that the Calpine power plant that is there currently is within the city of Dover limits, as is the concrete plant, or whatever you want to refer to that as. This is Kent County's jurisdiction. This is not within the city of Dover. This is Kent County Levy Court's decision. As someone whose family has spent generations, and I mean multiple generations, investing millions of dollars in land in the AC district on the east side of Route 13, it makes me absolutely sick that I am here again tonight listening to this. And I know that you all like to throw landowners' rights at us. Let me tell you about landowners' rights. We have given up our rights. This Levy Court, through zoning changes, has taken our rights. When my family started buying land in the 1930s in that area, I could build an Amazon distribution center on it if I wanted to. Through this process right here, our landowner rights have been diminished. We have accepted those for the good of the character of the surrounding area, for the good of our neighbors, for the good of the nation, to continue farming, to producing food for people. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at fuel prices right now in America. Do you think solar is going to save that? And I'm not here to debate solar. I'm here to debate land use. This is a mistake. Kent County knows it's a mistake. There are ordinances being drafted currently to help protect us from this. This is trying to slide in under it. I was at that RPC public hearing a few weeks ago, months ago now, I'm losing track. The room was full. It was not just full of the farmers that you guys are used to seeing, it was full of the people that live in the small houses along the scenic byway, the National Scenic Byway, Route 9, and that live on that road, and they were concerned about this, and they spoke that night. And because of everyone standing up, and because of all of the opposition, it was decided by the RPC to table this application until the litigation from Cedar Creek was heard. And then in a private business meeting, they decided to remove it from being tabled. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't smell right. It's not right. If they wanted to do that, there should have been another RPC hearing. There should have been another public hearing with testimony, and there should have been notice given to those same people that stood up in opposition that night. They should have had the right to stand up again and speak again. But now we're here before you, and those people I don't believe were notified, because one of those homeowners I actually know, and I called him today and said, do you know this is coming up? And he said, I had no idea, thought it was tabled until the litigation was done. So what is the process for that? And what is the Levy Court's intention for this AC district? Because as landowners, we're all getting sick. As your agricultural community, we're getting sick of showing up and doing the right thing for the state of Delaware and for Kent County, Delaware. So if I want an Amazon distribution center on my land, I want the right to do it. If you're going to allow industrial use in the ACAR zoning districts at the will of corporate America, then you better get ready to give me the right to do whatever I want with all of my land. And think about that. Think about what happens to Kent County when all of our farmers get disgusted and get sick of the politics and the bureaucracy of the state of Delaware coming down on us, and we all move to the Midwest. What are you going to have in Delaware then? Prices are through the roof. The solar companies, if I pull a comp right now on a piece of property, thanks to that Cedar Creek deal, my comps just went up. You don't think it's tempting to just throw everything we have on the market and walk away and say, forget Delaware, we're going out west? Think about what you're doing to Kent County, Delaware. Think about what you want for the character of this county. We are all sick of this. This needs to stop. This application should be tabled until the litigation on the other application, which is basically the exact same situation, is finished, complete. When the court makes its decision, I understand that they came in time for their application to be heard, but they deserve to have to wait until the litigation is complete. And I would like to remind you all that you may be facing further litigation, because if industrial use is allowable within the AC district, which I believe this is, you are going to have farmers that want their land rights back. That this Levy Court came in and said, you are now an AC district, here are all of your restrictions. And we have accepted. Well, if you're going to shove solar down our throats, utility scale solar, don't think we're going to go away quietly and happily, because we're not. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Hurd? Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Anybody else in opposition? Give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
Paul Cartanza, Sr., 6289 Bayside Drive, Dover, Delaware.
Mr. Cartanza, do you swear or affirm, sir, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
I cannot follow that young lady. She has laid it on the line for you guys. I mean, what can be said after what she has presented the last few times that she's been up here? She has told us over and over again where we're at. You know, solar, I'm not against the solar. I'm against where the solar is being located. I cannot help Calpine came into Dover or Delaware and decided to buy this piece of property. It wasn't worth farming that piece of property. It had 90 ditches in it. So it was a very difficult farm to farm, I know, because I farmed it. And I remember the old man that lived there, his son, dug those ditches by hand so he could farm that farm. You can't farm a farm with 10-foot ditches with 30-foot pieces of equipment. So yes, that piece of farmland was not a very valuable piece of land. And yes, everybody's running out trying to find the next big thing to bring employment. They brought 72 people in. We need thousands of jobs, not 72. It just really irritates me that we have to sit here and listen and suffer, well, not say suffer, but have to put up with this. As she said, and as I stated, when Route 1 went through, you cut her hands off and said, no development. No development. You guys can't develop out there. We need the green earth. We need to grow crops. We need to feed America. Why in the hell didn't they take Route 1 further over? No. They wiggled and they sniggled and they snuck in places and took people not knowing really what this land was going to be worth. And then the lawyers who knew what was going on, they were out buying our land so they could put it in grandfathered places to build developments. They're the ones that built the developments all east of Route 1. The attorneys who knew what was going on. So this is nothing new. I am just really, really disappointed that we have to continue fighting for our rights as a farmer to put up with this. And you guys maybe sit there and said, really, it's just a thing. Well, it's my thing. I'm a farmer. I work every day from 6 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night so I can provide for my family and to feed America. We do that. We feed America. Delaware is the largest lima bean producer in the United States. We are the largest lima bean producer. We're one of the largest chicken producers. We have to feed them with corn, soybeans. We can't do it on top of a solar panel. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Cartanza? Thank you, Paul. Anybody else in opposition? Anybody else in opposition?
Do we have any guests on WebEx that wish to address Levy Court in opposition to this measure? *3 on your mobile phone will bring you into the room, or activate your raise hand icon.
I see no one online in opposition at this time.
Name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, sir.
Am I too late? Mike Richards, 3390 Walnut Shade Road, Camden, 19934.
Mr. Richards, you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm, yes.
Thank you.
The reason I came up to speak, the land that's in question and all of the land out in that general area is some of the very best farmland in Kent County. That has been the case since way back in colonial times. The closer you got to the bay, the better the land was. Now, there's been a lot of talk about feeding the nation. You can't feed the nation if you have the land covered with solar panels. I'm not opposed to solar. I have 33 solar panels at my house on steel poles. And we've had it for over 10 years, and it's good. And we get quarterly checks, which is kind of nice too. But to take good, productive farmland away, I think is wrong. Look at what has happened up in Newcastle County in the Middletown area. That was some of the best land in Newcastle County. It was called the Levels. It has been filled up with all kinds of developments, businesses. It is a hodgepodge up there. It's nothing like it was years ago. I see the same thing happening here if this development of solar panels continues on the good farmland. So that's all I really have to say.
Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Anybody else in opposition? Anybody in opposition? Last call. Close the public hearing. I'll turn the gavel over to the... Oh, sorry.
We did that.
Thank you. I'll turn over the gavel to Commissioner Buxton, since it's my district, to make the motion.
Prior to making a motion, I'd like to express some comments. I didn't realize I was getting the gavel, but I look forward to it. It is what it is. Let me first state by saying that I concur. I certainly concur with the rights of the applicant to be here and what they expressed tonight. I also concur with the farmer and the farmers who showed up. I think that the Levy Court, for the majority, has demonstrated very clearly that we have no desire to see utility across our farmlands at all. In fact, the ordinances reflect that, and the pending ordinances, the ones that are being brought forth again here soon enough, will clearly state that. We sat here a couple weeks ago. We listened to the industry expert explain to Levy Court when the question was asked, what was the solar market prior to June 28th of last year? His exact words were, it's non-existent. I state that because that, at a minimum, demonstrates that this Levy Court had no desire to be into this fight. And you could argue that we should have known it was coming. We didn't. We just flat out didn't. And we've done everything we can through trial and error to get it right. And we're still here. I don't like it, but we're still here. Now I'm going to present to you 3 reasons why I am convinced without a shadow of a doubt that this thing needs to be tabled. I'm going to tell you the why. I'm going to tell you we can, and I'm going to tell you that we should. The why is rather simple. I made a decision a couple months ago to support the application presented to us, the utility one that finally got to us. I did so based on the laws as I understand them, and still do. Having said that, we got sued. We got sued again. Not our first rodeo. When we got sued, inside that lawsuit of 20-some pages that I did read, and I'm not a lawyer, there were 2 things that stood out that held water, not because they're right, but because they might be right. And if that's the case, and I can assure you that is the case, our counsel acknowledged that. Their counsel acknowledged that. In fact, the RPC, they made a recommendation that they'll hold off on a certain percentage of the plan until the lawsuits settle. Well, I appreciate that offer, but that demonstrates to me that there's uncertainty. We've made enough mistakes, unintentional or not. Can we? Yes, we can. Heck, we tabled our ordinances based on a lawsuit. Had we had those ordinances in place when they should have been in place, we wouldn't be here tonight. But we did so. We tabled, at the RPC level, a racetrack application for industrial use for 6 months. So I would argue that we're well within our rights to do so, and I would encourage us to consider that. And the last one that I'll state is this. A couple reasons. The applicant's not my enemy, and I don't want to be the enemy of the farmers. But I can't win either way. It is what it is. They're not going to be harmed. They're not going to lose rights if they're put on a pause while the courts firmly decide where we stand. They're not. So I would suggest that we take a break, allow the courts to firmly decide what the heck we're going to be as a solar county, if you want to call it that. Remember, the mandates produced by the state put us in this position. I don't want any more of this problem. I want a clear path forward. And I believe that that lawsuit can present that. Right or wrong. So with that, I make a motion that we table this application.
I second the motion.
And I'd like to comments about the asking, well, I make a motion that we table it until a decision is presented before us in front of the levy, or by the court. I don't know what court it's in, the Court of Chancery or what have you. All right? So that's included in the motion.
Well, Mr. Buxton, I just want to say thank you for taking my motion. It's under me, so I thought...
Give me the gavel to let you make the motion.
I can't make the motion running the meeting. So we have a motion and a second.
Funny, but it is. All right.
So go ahead, Ms. Naka, go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated by Commissioner Buxton, and I truly believe, too, that the RPC had it right the first time by tabling it. And since this is in the courts, that the courts should be heard, and so we know which way we can go to make our decision-making process a better reality. So yes, for tabling.
Mr. Hall?
No, I believe that we have enough information tonight to move forward for the applicant. I would like to say that I believe that we have heard from the farming community. That's why we came up with an ordinance. And did this application slip in under the wire? Well, yes. Legally they could. Legally they did. We have a right to consider it if it's a permitted use. As long as they agree to the conditions, they've agreed to conditions. I believe we should move forward. So that's why I'm saying we don't need to table it.
Mr. Howell?
I vote yes. I don't know. It looks like they're two irreconcilable issues, and I don't think we've reconciled enough. So it's better to just wait and work this out even more. The impassioned pleas of the pro farmers, which I'm one of, but also of property rights disciple, or whatever you want to call it. I just don't see any reconciliation at this point. So I'm in favor of tabling it.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
No, for the reasons that Commissioner Hall stated.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Buxton?
Yes, per my motion and reasons stated.
Mr. Buxton, a roll call reveals 4 yeas, 2 nay, 1 absent.
Let the record show 4 in favor, 2 against, and 1 absent. Motion passes for tabling. Okay. Ordinance LC 2210. Ms. Kiefer?
Ordinance LC 2210 is an application to amend the comprehensive plan and zoning maps. Currently, the site is split zoned between AR, agricultural residential, and IG, general industrial. And the proposal is to rezone to entirely AR. The area of petition is just over an acre within a 68-acre parcel on the north side of Settlersville Road, east of Downs Chapel, west of Kenton, outside the growth zone. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on the application at their May 5th hearing, and at their May 12th business meeting voted unanimously to recommend approval, citing that the proposal indeed is within the character of the area. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Seeing none? Open the public hearing. Anybody in favor? Please come forth, give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
is Doug Annan. I'm a surveyor for the Dunnings. I live at 10027 North Old State Road, Lincoln.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Doug, what was your last name?
Annand, A-N-N-A-N-D. I'll just read a little paragraph here about the background of the project. The Dunning family has owned this farm on Suttersville Road for 50 years. In the early 70s, they got about an acre rezoned to IG so they could start a body shop business. Now the body shop business is closed for good. The Dunnings have 2 homes on the property, and they wish to subdivide 2 lots for the homes and separate them from the rest of the farm. But in order to do this, they must rezone the IG portion to AR to accomplish this. The rest of the farm and all their adjoiners are AR. Any questions?
Any questions for Doug? Thank you, sir. Anybody else in favor? Come down and give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed. Please.
Daniel Steinhauer, and 2678 Suttersville Road, Clayton, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Can you speak into the mic, sir? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, there we go. Well, I guess the reason I'm in favor of it, because when this all happens, then I'm planning on buying the land. So, of course, I would be in favor of it. Any questions? No way. The Dunnings have been very good neighbors. We've known each other for years, and I want to keep right on farming it like they've done it. And I have some boys coming on that enjoy that, and so we enjoy farming along with some other things. My wife has greenhouses there as well. We'll probably do some of that there as well. Oh. She wants to know who I am. I have to tell the truth. They know me. Any other questions?
Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Anybody else in favor? Please come down and give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
Good evening. I'm Brenda Dunning, and my address is 2399 Suttersville Road, Clayton, Delaware, 19938.
Ms. Dunning,
yes.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
My parents passed away, and so my 2 brothers and I have the property. And my oldest brother, Bobby, is the one who's done most of the farming and ran the body shop with my father. And the past 2 years, he's had a lot of medical problems. And so he found himself earlier in life having to give up the body shop and give up farming. So we went to, with body shop gone, as Doug said, make everything agriculture. And then we want to subdivide so we have the farmhouse for our family and we have a trailer that we're going to subdivide. And the remaining acreage that's tillable land and woods and a greenhouse is under land preservation, and Daniel is going to be purchasing it from us. So, and I appreciate that the Regional Planning Committee has recommended that unanimously that it be accepted. So,
any questions for this lady? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody in favor? Anybody else in favor? Anybody online, Mark?
If there's anyone that's online that would like to make comments in favor of this application, please press *3. I see no one in favor online at this time.
Thank you. Anybody in opposition? Anybody in opposition? Mark, anybody online for opposition?
Again, if there's anyone that's online that would like to make comments in opposition to this application, please press *3 or your raise hand icon. I see no takers.
Close the public hearing on ordinance LC 2210. Mr. Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move that we approve ordinance LC 2210, an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan map designation and the official zoning map of Kent County, Delaware, pursuant to the provisions of Kent County Code Volume 2, Chapter 205, Zoning, Article 3, Section 205-8 and Section 205-9, and Article 28, changes and amendments effective December 1, 2000, as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Howell, seconded by Commissioner Maston. Any further questions? Ms. Tanaka, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, for the positive testimony and positive support from RPC, my vote is yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, per staff and RPC recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, comments made. That's all.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor and 1 absent. Passes. Thank you. Close the public hearing. We are going into recess to committee meetings, and under administration, Mr. Pedamage, the Kent County Aero Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you received in your packet over the weekend relative to the Kent County Aero Park is a proposal from a long-term land tenant of the county to purchase lots 17 and lot 23 at the Aero Park. The Commonwealth Group, since 1988, has leased the land from the county, and they were the first entity to build a building in the Kent County Aero Park. And many years ago, it was initially occupied by Discover Card. It was a card processing facility. It's been going through several iterations since then. Most recently, the property was occupied by State of Delaware Homeland Security Department until they recently built across the highway from this complex a new facility, and they've moved. So the Commonwealth Group are negotiating with a new tenant on their building, and part of the negotiation centers around the land lease portion of the property, as I understand it. They're looking at a long-term lease with a tenant. Of course, they're under lease on the land to us. It was recently renewed in 2018 for another 30 years. But the Commonwealth Group at this point has requested that they purchase the property from the county. And they've been a tenant since 1988. Currently, the property that is leased generates about $24,000 in rent payments to the county annually. As the draft proposed lease agreement that was prepared by the Commonwealth Group would indicate that the buyer, the Commonwealth Group, would pay for an appraisal of the property if the county agrees with this concept and signs this agreement. The Commonwealth Group would pay for the appraisal, and that we would agree to sell the property to the Commonwealth Group for the fair market value of the property as it is appraised. The county attorney has reviewed this draft. There are some minor tweaks that we will seek in this if Levy Court wishes to pursue it. And there's a motion that indicates that if Levy Court is inclined to go along with this sale and authorize the president to sign this, that the final sales agreement be reviewed and approved by the county attorney before it's signed. That's basically it in a nutshell. We're talking about just under 6 acres of land in the Aero Park. This property is adjacent to the other property the county owns, known as the Monster Racing Building. There's a small street that divides the two properties. The county also owns several other lots in this complex that are yet to be developed. And so that's basically it. I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have. And I'll turn the floor back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pettermage. Any questions for Mr. Pettermage? Seeing none, move it forth for the business meeting. Show of hands. 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you. Any public comments on this one item? Any public comments? Back to myself. Business meeting. Ms. Maston.
Excuse me. The first item I have is an opening on the Personnel Administration Board due to the resignation of Mr. Richard Locke, who I believe has served on the Personnel Committee for a long time, but due to health reasons has opted to retire. At this point in time, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Dr. Patricia Woody, who's a long-term veterinarian in the Smyrna-Clayton area, who's also retired from that position, to be my appointee to the Personnel Administration Board.
Motion made by Ms. Maston. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who said that? Oh, Commissioner Howell. Any further questions? Ms. Tanaka, call roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor, 1 absent. Introduction, Ms. Maston.
Okay, the next one is the introduction of Resolution 3943, fiscal year 2023, sewer assessment rolls for Kent County Sewage Disposal District 1. Kent County Sewer District Number 1 is listed for public hearing on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Next is introduction of Resolution 3928, a resolution establishing Big Oak Garbage Collection District 188 for public hearing on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Introduction of Resolution 3929, a resolution establishing Big Oak Street Light District Number 188 for public hearing on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Maston. Under me, the Administration Committee, the proposed Aero Park, I make a motion to enter into the proposed agreement of sale as presented, subject to final approval of the county attorney, and direct the Levy Court president to execute the said agreement on behalf of Levy Court.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Ms. Maston. Any further discussion? Ms. Tanaka, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor, 1 absent. Introduction of ordinance LC 22-14, an ordinance to amend Kent County Code Volume 1, Chapter 158, moratoriums as amended by adding a new subsection relating to acceptance of conditional use site plan application for utility solar facilities greater than 50 acres for public hearing on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Mr. Buxton, if you could read number 1 into the record, please.
Other business, move to go into executive session immediately following the business meeting for the preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation in personnel matters pursuant to 29 Del-C .1004 B2 4 and 9. And number 2, Good to go.
Number 1, sir.
Well, never mind.
Motion made by Commissioner Buxton on number 1. Need a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Howell, any further questions? Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show there's 6 in favor and 1 absent. We will be going into executive session and returning after the meeting, and then we'll do number 2, Mr. Buxton. So we are going into executive session.
Report to the caucus room, please.
reconvene the business meeting. Under number 1, I move to approve the hiring of Conley Gallagher LLP as special counsel to represent Kent County Levy Court in the matters related to litigation pertaining to solar facilities.
Second.
Who was second? Commissioner Howell. Any further questions? Mr. Tanaki, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
The record shows 6 in favor and 1 absent. Mr. Buxton, number 2, please.
Now, number 2. Move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings of June 7th, 2022 for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation and personnel matters pursuant to 29 Del C 10004B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Buxton, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Any further discussion? Mr. Tanaka, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper, absent. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Let the record show 6 in favor, 1 absent. Any informational items, gentlemen, ladies? Just one for the congressional meeting on Brecknock on Friday, the 27th at 10 o'clock. If you all can make it there, it'd be great. Mr. Pettimage, anything else, sir?
No, sir. Appreciate it.
Any public comments? No public left. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, sir. So last Wednesday night, I had the opportunity to join the Dover Fire Company, Robbins Hose, out at the fire school. And I donned a suit, donned a scuba gear, and went into the fire smokehouse and put out a fire. They took me up in the top of a ladder. I helped cut a car open with the jaws of life and put out a field fire where a tanker truck had dumped fuel all over the place. And if you get an opportunity to do that, the last time they did this with us was the summer of 2008, and then I got elected in 2008, so I didn't get the opportunity to do it with Levy Court then. So I am very glad to have gotten the opportunity to do it this time and get and experience exactly what they go through with the equipment. And to say that my heart rate went up, I have a watch. At one point, my heart rate was about 190, and I wasn't doing anything. So I want to thank Sean Richardson and Dave Carey and the mayor for putting that on and giving those of us who were there, Trey Pardee, Colin Bonini, Jill Pillsbury. It was a great time.
Mr. Angel.
Commissioner Buxton.
Real quick, yes, I was there in 2008. When that flame rolls over top, it's pretty cool. You were there too, Michael. That's right, baby. That's right. It was a few years ago, but putting on that mask was the most trying thing, you know. That was the thing. You got to put that on there, and you're like, hey, chill out, man. Don't panic. Everybody's going to think you're silly.
It gets pretty dark in there, too.
Sure does.
Sure the fire starts.
But you can see where it rolls. I did not make that. It was they gave us a day notice or something like that to get there. But I did get notice yesterday. I was walking out of the gym, and I received a call from one of the fire companies in my district asking me if I could come out. They needed me. That's all they said. They said, hey, I really need you. I said, hey, just point me in the right direction. Let's go. He said, Port Mahon. All right, sure. So I'm driving out there, and I'm like, where are you? What's going on? He's like, you don't know what's going on? And I said, no. Well, the barge was on fire, and Bowers was the first on scene, so they had to assume command. along with, I guess, 7 other districts to include Jersey, Pennsylvania. In fact, the big one was the one from New York that came down, the famous one that's out there in the harbor. Anyway, silly me, I'm in there, and they said, we need a spokesperson. I'm not very good to speak. I said, well, I can run my mouth with the best of them, but I don't know if that's a good idea here. So I traded that for fireman duty at 9 miles out, right next to the barge while they're putting it out. It was amazing. That was amazing. They're shooting it. You're in a polluted rain downpour. There's the range, the shower, it's just flying over top, and the smoke's billowing out. It was pretty impressive, and that thing was massive. And kudos, I'm sure at some point in time we want to recognize those guys, because I'll end with this. You can picture the ones that were out there. South Bowers, Little Creek, and others. They got the call at 1:30 in the morning. I didn't get there until 4 o'clock the next day. Every one of them were still out there. It was amazing. They were out there this morning. I was on my way out there. And of course, my truck broke down. So anyway, enough with that. But it was a great, wonderful experience, and kudos to those folks. So thanks.
Any further commissioners? Commissioner, yeah, Mr. Pettema.
I'm sorry, I should have done this under comments, but just wanted to let everyone know that last Thursday, we received the certificate or final approval from the fire marshal on our building on Route 8. And just earlier today, we got the certificate of occupancy from us for our building. So we're ready to move in. We will be working on some type of a ceremonial opening probably after the 1st of June. And we'll let everyone know, of course, and hope everyone can be there. But I sent out a before and after pictures. I don't know if you all got a chance to look at them, but we've come a long way with that building. And kudos to Levy Court for taking a property that no one else would ever probably attempt to do anything with, and you put it back into productive use. And it was a contaminated site, so it's a great public investment, I think. Thank you.
Anybody else? I just have 2 quick things. Thank you for letting me run the meeting tonight. Mr. Sweeney helped me out here when I was trying to get my phone under control. It looked like I was pausing there. I didn't want it to ring anymore. So, and also I did forget to mention that we did not have our retirees here. So we will make sure that they get their resolutions for that. And that was for Crystal Yerkes, Patrick Quillen, and Bruce Slotty. Make sure that they get their paperwork, and it's been passed by Levy Court. And I did forget to mention that, so I wanted to make sure that was part of the record. Since there's nothing else, show of hands for adjournment. 6 up. We're adjourned.